The first thing we got to talk about then is this PGA championship here coming up. I'm not a golf guy, admittedly. I want to give you that like right off the top. I love riding along. Like if my brother plays or my friends play, I'll sit in the cart. I'll drive the cart. Fuck. But watching it, I'll do it like I'm a fair weather guy. Okay. So I will be watching this week. How the hell do we bet this thing?
It's hard because we're in this era where any given major, there are 10 young guys that can win.
Right.
I think we're kind of past the point where old guys can win. Now I'm putting Rory McIlroy in that category of still young guys because he's still only 31 years old. But the competition right now is just too insane. So like for the Masters, we built up a card of somewhat exotic plays, and I think I'm going to repeat some of that. So the single best moneymaker for us with the Masters was parlaying Bryson DeChambeau to miss the cut and Tiger Woods to make the cut.
Oh, wow.
And we knew that Bryson was hurt, and Bryce, because he said so, and he said, I'm going against doctor's orders here by playing in this tournament. And he went out and he shot 80 on Friday and he missed the cut.
How do we think Bryson gets hurt? Do you think it has anything to do with the weightlifting?
He put on 40 pounds through this insane like protein consumption kind of thing. Yeah. He's got a science mind. You know, by all reports and indications, he was a physics major at SMU, and he's trying to gain an advantage by this, you know, sort of innovative approach. And it worked for him. In 2020, he won the U.S. Open up at Winged Foot, and he had put on a bunch of weight, and he had a swing speed that nobody had ever seen before, and he could hit the ball out of the rough. So he just drove it all over God's green earth, and it didn't matter because he was so close that he hit wedge, and he's strong enough to hit wedge out of any kind of lie. Yeah. And he got an advantage that way, but it just wasn't sustainable. He kept up with that eating regimen and also the weightlifting and trying to swing harder than any human. I mean, he competed last year in a world long drive championship. He finished 16th in that thing. Like those are different athletes are trying to do an entirely different thing. And he was able to compete with them. And he, you know, for what he wants to do on tour, it just wasn't sustainable. So he got hurt. This most recent, after that World Drive thing, he played in like 4 tournaments and he missed a cut in all of them, except for the one that didn't have a cut. So we were like, oh, okay. So then he went and got wrist surgery after the Masters because his wrist is effed up. What's the HAMATE bone? How do you say that?
Hammer.
Harambe bone.
The
medical community would call it the hammer.
Yeah, he fucked his lever. It's one of the levers.
Yes, exactly right. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Important for golf.
Yeah.
So he's there right now, testing the wrist post-surgery to see if he can compete in this championship. And if he goes out on the first tee on Thursday and there are odds for him to miss the cut, we are plowing in on Bryson to miss the cut. And it's not because we wish ill on him. He's just not physically fit to play in a major golf tournament.
Yeah, you have the information available.
Joe, what's the most enjoyable way to bet golf? Because, you know, we've got football covered. We've got spreads and totals. I'm currently addicted to...
I don't know that I'm enjoying it, but I kind of am.
I'm currently addicted to first quarters in the NBA because then you can chase,
Wonderful.
You can chase.
Yes,
but
sure can.
For golf, is it to win? Is it top 10? Is it make and miss? Your exotic plays? How should amateur golf gamblers get into it?
To me, by far, the right way to do it is to come in on head-to-heads. You can do by round head-to-heads and by tournament head-to-heads. That shrinks the whole competition down to just, can this guy beat this guy? And the prices tend to be mostly fair. A lot of times they'll inflate if it's a very well-known guy against a lesser-known guy. But these days, there is great information on golf, like the advanced metrics for golf have quietly really blossomed. And there's tons of free shit on the internet where you can go and get trends. And if if you develop a perspective on, I think this golf course is going to play this particular way because this is what people are saying about it, and you find out, oh, this one guy seems to be on a little bit of a heater on the greens that feature this kind of grass, and the guy that he's up against, for whatever reason you want to fade. It's just so much easier to shrink the vast amount of information. You could play outright winners because it's fun, but you just play an outright winner and then you say goodbye to that money. You have to like do 15 or 20
10 of them
guys. Yeah. And then, it cuts into the return, but the head-to-heads I think is the easiest way to jump in.
The major story is Phil Mickelson, a guy even I know a little bit about, but like, he's got an unauthorized biography coming out this week, so that should be spicy. I hear stories about him, $40 million gambling, the whole thing. I'm like, seems like my kind of guy for the most part. What's going on? Like, tell me if I'm just kind of a casual golf fan, what I need to know about Phil Mickelson and why is he so interesting even now? Because I know he hasn't golfed since February 6th. People are wondering if it's like a suspension under the table or if it has anything to do with the Saudi league. Like, give me Phil Mickelson, like the elevator pitch for why he's so interesting.
Well, because he's been in our lives for 30 some years now, and he's been an incandescent talent for all of those 30 years. He won a golf tournament, a PGA Tour event as an amateur. And then last year, he won a major at the oldest age in the history of professional golf.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever won a major championship before at the age of 50. And Phil effing Mickelson did it. And he was Robin to Tiger's Batman for all of the Tiger era. When Tiger went down with his personal troubles, there was this like immediate sort of reaction, and it's not going to be that big of a surprise from like the golf community, aka the white community, that Phil is always smiling and thumbs upping and, walking around and winking and patting the babies on the head. And surly Tiger with his troubles, and then when Tiger came back, he was, still a little bit unfriendly. So like just charisma wise for a little while, Phil's star ascended during that era that Tiger was out. And Phil's always been like enormously charismatic. Like it seems like anything that he tries, he's immediately good at. He went on a broadcast maybe like 18 months ago, a PGA Tour broadcast, and he sat down with Jim Nantz and Faldo, and immediately was like, took it over. He was doing like Romo shit. In the golf broadcast booth. Everybody lost their minds. Like, oh my God, put him in the booth.
Give him 37.
That's it. Sign him up. And the same thing. He like dabbled in social media a little bit, and then he kind of jumped in, and all of a sudden he's like one of the funniest golf social media people, which means not that funny, but still very funny. Golf social media dude. So it's like, what can't he do?
Well, he had me at like he's a degenerate gambler.
Yeah, and those stories are legendary.
On occasion, he's got boobs, which is relatable.
Well, to many. Yeah, no question. No question.
All of that.
He also
relatable.
has calves. That's relatable. I got calves.
Look at those
Phil's
giant
got
calves. That's it.
Yeah, that's all I got anymore.
He had a giant appetite. Like some of his food and wine stories also legendary. Very good at giving the needle. So like those stories are good and funny for the most part. And one of the things for sure with him, he's liked amongst his peers. Right? You don't have a ton of those guys over the years coming out and saying fuck Phil Mickelson.
Right.
They've been like, they go along with it. They understand like where he's coming from. And he's been an important part of our success when we've had success in the Ryder Cups. Like he has been thought of as a leader, and he was supposed to be the captain of the team at Bethpage up in 2025. And that ain't happening now.
What do you think he's not going to like in his book?
I think it's all out. I think everything that, the two big hammers that came out were calling the people that he intends to take $100 million from scary motherfuckers. I think that was bad. And the gambling debts, which have quietly been sort of considered part of his picture for a long time. And it was inside the golf community. I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school. Widely believed that the reason that Jim Mackay, Bones, his caddy, fired Phil, because that's what happened, is because Phil owed Bones money. And it was not a small amount of money.
Phil owed Bones bones.
He owed him bones.
Listen to the full podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast streaming platforms. Wherever you want to get the podcast, you can get the podcast. Pretty simple. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Podcasts get pretty wild. This is real tame.